Are the injury concerns really concerns, or are they just precautionary?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. Want to thank you guys for helping make Locked On the #1 sports podcast in the world. And we're a part of it. We appreciate you guys so much. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and we'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. Right now, Jimmy, definitely want to get to this basketball game, but we'll save that for the third segment. That was a lot of fun. Too late, but a lot of fun. Definitely want to talk some recruiting, as that's coming up. Always a lot of fun. And some new rankings are out. But I think we start with some injury concerns. There's Quay Russaw out there. Now, let's start with him and sort of tease the other one. But Quay Russaw, would you want him to come back and play against Eastern Illinois? Definitely. I think so, because I want him to come back and get his feet wet before going to Auburn.
I think the best chance of him being impactful against Auburn is playing Saturday, and he almost played against Oklahoma. It was literally a decision they made on the field during warmups that they would hold him out for one more week. The literal game time decision. I even heard Kane Womack say, hey, sometimes you hear that phrase, game time decision, and it's not really that. He said, but this was literally a decision we made right before the game. So that shows how close Russaw is. So I based on that comment, unless there has been some sort of something that happened in practice this week that would be a setback, which I have not heard that that's the case, I expect to see Quay Russaw. Now, I don't think he's going to, quote, start the game because, I mean, why would he? Yanze Pierre, he hasn't just held it down. He's become one of the best football players we have on the team. I would imagine Pierre, number 42, is going to start at the Wolf spot, but then you'll work Russaw in, and I think he plays enough snaps to feel comfortable playing in games again, because we're going to ask Russaw to be a significant player against Auburn.
Well, and Russaw is going to be vitally important against Auburn, if you ask me, because they are more of a running team. I know everybody likes to talk about Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton, but Jeremiah Cobb, probably the third best running back in this league. And then Ashton Daniels, who will start very famously and won't start this weekend. He is more of a running quarterback. So, yes, I definitely want to have Quay Russaw available. And by the way, it just dawned on me, like there may be some people going, "Boy, we could have used Quay Russaw last week." I don't think Quay Russaw would have made much of a difference last week. The defense wasn't the problem. Quay Russaw wasn't throwing picks and fumbles. So
all problems are all. Defense played more than good enough to win the game. As a matter of fact, I would say the defense sort of won the game, and the offense stole it from them. I mean, it was that bad. Alabama's defense is outstanding right now. I've been coming up. This is completely off subject, but I've been working already on an Auburn score, and every time I come up with a score that makes sense to me, I say I can't believe our defense is going to give up that many points. I mean, so yeah, I have a ton of confidence in those guys right now.
I'm very excited about the way they're playing. I think they are playing at a championship level, and we just need the offense to match. We need all these things to jive, and we need special teams to look. I'm not going to ask special teams to be championship level anymore. I'm going to ask them to be not awful. That's my new benchmark for special teams.
Lose the game.
Don't lose the game.
You don't have to win the game. The defense is going to do that. You don't have to win the game on special teams. You just have to not lose it. They lost it on special teams. And it is crazy how that game was a collapse. It wasn't a collapse offensively, because the offense did do a lot of good things. Yet they gained 412 yards against the best defense in the whole league. So they were doing a lot of things right. There were just too many errors. Special teams just flat out, contributed to nothing but a loss. Contributed to nothing but a loss.
Well, they stunk, and from punt returns to kickoff to questionable decisions of returning the kick out of the end zone. I mean, just stupid stuff. And then, of course, missing field goals, kickers yelling at snappers. I mean, it's just that's got to be that can't happen.
I've seen a couple of Oklahoma people in my mentions on Twitter object when I say Alabama, made a huge mistake and fumbled a punt. They don't like that I said that Ryan Williams fumbled. They prefer that we acknowledge Oklahoma for forcing that turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides are a little correct there. It is a fumble. It counts in the fumble category. Did the Oklahoma player in special teams make a great play? Yes, he did. I don't mean to diminish the fact that they caused the turnover, but the thing is, when you're carrying the football, whether it's on special teams or on offense, you have to anticipate them trying to punch the ball out. You have to anticipate that. We didn't secure the ball as well as it should have been. So that is a mistake that Alabama made. But I'm not trying to diminish the play that the Oklahoma player made. I mean, it was a great play on his part, but you've got to protect the football. It's number one. What did they used to say back in the old days? It's it's more honorable to have died at birth than fumble a football. I mean, I'm old school.
And I believe that for everybody else, not me. But I even heard Dusty Dvorak, former Oklahoma player who's on Dusty and Danny in the morning today, say something about how, he was talking about Alabama dropping 6 spots and what would Oregon do if they lost to, say, USC this weekend. And he said, if Alabama drops 6 spots and they double up yardage and they look good and they made some mistakes that Oklahoma was able to take advantage of, give Oklahoma credit, Oregon should drop out. They have nothing. So we covered a lot of that yesterday, but I want to get back to Parker Brailsford being in a boot yesterday. Not a good boot, like not some designer Gucci something.
Those boots were not made for walking.
These boots were not made. These boots were made for healing. And I hope that's just what they'll do. So nice. Parker Brailsford, he's probably doubtful for this weekend. Questionable.
I think probably on the report you'll be questionable. It sounds a little more doubtful to me.
Would you play it?
Well, I don't know the extent of the injury. Obviously he's injured and he can't practice. The way I look at it is Parker Brailsford's played a lot of football. He's played a lot of football. He's played pretty well until he got hurt. I think the fact that Brailsford's hurt's good news. And I know that sounds crazy, but this is what I mean by that. Brailsford didn't play well against Oklahoma. I thought it was his worst game of the year, maybe the worst game he's played since he's been at Alabama over the 2 years. And the fact that we find out after the game that he was hurt in game, I'm like, whew, that explains that. Good. That explains that. I mean, he didn't play well. Well, he's hurt. This game's hard enough to play when you're healthy. And he's going to be fine. I've yet to hear anything that makes me believe for 1 second he won't be fine for Auburn. I think any player that needs rest and recovery should not play Saturday. You obviously don't need Parker Brailsford. We don't need the starting offense to play Saturday. Now, I want to play as many guys on that offense that are healthy because I think they need the reps and they need the work and they need to improve. But I wouldn't play anybody that needs any actual rest and recovery because the Auburn game is so big. It literally, I don't want to overplay it, but I think it literally defines the whole season. The season will be a disappointment or a success based on the outcome of that one game. We're
in the playoffs right now. Right now, starting now, we're in the playoffs. So
yes.
That's the best way to look at it. Win in advance, lose and you're out. Now, The caveat being that the SEC championship game, to me, now there'll be some people that disagree. The SEC championship game, to me, really it'll move the meter in terms of either Alabama will probably be getting a bye or they'll be traveling for their first round. Those are the only two things that really determines for me.
That's a giant swing if you think about it.
That is a giant swing. And once I said it, I was like, wait a minute, that's more than I thought.
Yeah, no, but you either get a bye or you're on the road at Oregon, which is the current projection. And
it is also the worst case scenario of the, if you're going to go to the championship game, you're like, I dang sure better win it so I can get the bye. But if you go and you lose it, and let's say you go turn into a visiting team on the first round, well, then you've played one extra game. You understand what I'm saying? You're playing 2 extra games. If Notre Dame were undefeated, they would get a bye, and that Well, wait a minute. They can't be one of the top 4 seeds, can they?
Yeah, they can. They couldn't under the old system.
They can now?
Okay. They can now.
So, well, they could get a bye. I mean, 2 byes. They could miss a championship game and miss the first round. I mean, now there's pluses and minuses there, and it's not lost on me that last year all the teams that got byes lost their first game. That's not lost on me. I'm just saying for this particular Alabama team, if Parker Brailsford is a little dinged up, and he is, and so he'll probably miss this game, but he'll play against Auburn. If Russaw still needs some healing, and he does, is there anybody else that could maybe make a comeback that's dinged up? I mean, I'm sure the whole team's dinged up, but
that's the thing. I want to say one last thing while we're on injuries. This has been a remarkably healthy football team. You normally lose more players for the year than Alabama's lost, to this point. It's been a healthy football team. And now you're getting even Russaw back, which is remarkable. I think even Keiton Jones, I don't think he'll be back this week, but I think we'll see Keiton Jones again, who, by the way, is a very potential starter, next year. So it's a remarkably healthy football team. But I say that not knowing this. Nobody listening knows this because it's the most closely guarded stuff. I mean, they don't really talk about. The number of players who are playing who are dinged up is probably much bigger than we know. I mean, that's an annual thing. More players are playing dinged up than we know by this point in the season every year. That's just football. And that's not just Alabama. That's Auburn. That's Eastern Illinois. That's just anybody who's played 10, 11 college football games. The training room, all the tables are full. I mean, in terms of who's getting treatment for this little thing or that little thing. That's football. And there's a parade of players that the day after the season's over are signing up for their surgeries. I mean, Proctor, as an example, had one last year. The day that the season was over, then he's having surgery on his shoulder. So that goes on too. We just don't know about that. They don't want to broadcast to the other team that someone's elbow hurt or they're going to be punching his elbow all day.
I want to tell everybody about FanDuel now because the NBA is back. And there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of
the NBA.
Got it again. I can't believe it. Good work, Jimmy.
Yeah, I don't have a script or anything in front of me when I nail that every time.
Yeah, he is. He's a magician. He should be on what's that? Whose line is it anyway? He just gets it right.
I'm a lot like that that O's guy, the mentalist, that's always doing the mentalist type magic tricks. That everybody out. I'm that guy.
He was on some news station the other day, and I've seen it when he was on Hard Knocks for one of those teams, and like it is funky, man. I don't know how he's doing that. That's
the
crazy.
Easiest explanation is actual magic.
He's a literal wizard.
I mean, he's a literal. I mean, that's the easiest explanation for a lot of his tricks if you haven't seen him. Okay. Well, I think a lot of our listeners out there are like Dr. Kevorkian, and they're losing patience, and they want us to talk about around here.
Some recruiting stuff here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So early signing day coming up, and how about this list for early enrollment? This is courtesy of Bama Online. Jet Tamala, Taden Kawa, E.J. Crowell, C.D. Morgan, Owen Cabell, Max Sutter, Jared Doty, Chris Booker, and Bear Fretwell. That's just on the offense. And on defense, it looks like it's going to be Jamarian Matthews, Mari Johnson, J.J. Finch, Corey Howard, Xavier Griffin, Zay Hall, Jordan Edmonds, Zion Gibson, Jaira Edwards, and Ryle Kelly. Holy cow, all those guys are enrolling early?
That's just cray. It's just the norm now. I mean, it's just the norm. And that's the norm. It's not even like, it's almost a surprise. I think last year Alabama had only 4 guys who signed who did not enroll early. A lot of those kids go to private schools where that sort of thing is just simply not allowed. But it's just amazing how, Luke and I grew up loving college football in an era where a lot of high school kids were deemed academically ineligible. Now we're in an era where all these kids are so good academically, they can graduate as juniors. I mean, so if you think one thing in the world's not getting better, how about the academic performance of athletes while they're in high school? That's something that's dramatically changed for the better over the years due to the emphasis. So shout out to college football and college basketball and all the other sports for emphasizing it. And
at the very least, they can cheat better with AI. At the very least.
Maybe that's exactly what's going on, that it might explain the whole thing. But nevertheless, I prefer just to give the kids credit and assume the best. And, there was a recruiting story this week that really is a good learning lesson, I think, for all of us about how this works now, in recruiting, because there's a difference between having room and having money. There's a JUCO defensive lineman out west that was a basketball player that's converting to a football player late in his career. And Alabama got wind of him and got a little tape and got interested enough to bring him in for an official visit. You can do those things now because official visits used to be capped. Now you can have as many as you want. It doesn't really matter. So you're bringing him in for an official visit, but before he makes his official visit, he goes on an official visit to Arizona State, who not only offers him, they offer him fairly significant, rev share NIL deal, whatever. And Alabama, so the kid's like, hey, I'm going to come to your visit, in Tuscaloosa, but this is what Arizona State and Alabama at that point said, you know what, don't even come on the visit. Why? Because that's just a great example of, we have room, but there's not going to be enough money for any sort of significant investment in a high school / JUCO player for signing day. We're full. And I think we used to mean we're full in terms of numbers. Now we're full means we don't have the money for that, and that's just a good example. It's what we all have to get used to in this new world. It's not about, is he good enough? Does he fit? Oh, is your room too crowded? No, it's about, these kids understandably want their share of rev share and potential NIL money. And in this case, it just wasn't there. Now, I don't think this was a big loss myself, based on what little I know about this guy. And again, how could you lose something that you never really had? But Alabama's fine. This defensive line class is very good. I love it. I do think a key one guy to watch, if those that enjoy recruiting for the anxiety, J.J. Finch. I mean, Tennessee's not giving up. Who knows what's going on there with the money end of things. But J.J. Finch is one to worry about. Now, what do I think is going to happen? I think he's signing with Alabama. That's what I think is going to happen. That's my prediction. J.J. Finch goes through with his commitment, signs with Alabama on signing day. But that's one to watch. And also Samson Gash. Sam Gash, we're still working on flipping him for Michigan State. It's not it's leaning that way. It looks to be leaning, but nothing's official there.
So what that does, all the ones we mentioned now, of course, you mentioned Samson Gash could be an early guy if he were to flip. And of course, JJ Finch could flip and not be an early guy to Alabama, obviously. But the three players who expected for May enrollment are Nolan Wilson, Sam Utu, and Javari Barnett. Now, Barnett I'm fine with because I do not see him being a contributor next year regardless.
Fair.
Utu, I like him a lot. I'm also okay with this, though.
Most offensive linemen redshirt. Most offensive linemen do. So
Nolan Wilson's the one guy I wish could come in of that group. Now, I mean, the other ones I can explain. And look, there's some guys like Caleb Edwards and London Simmons. They didn't enroll early, and they've contributed. So, I mean, it's not crazy.
Great point. That's a great point about those two. As a matter of fact, they contributed almost as much as any freshman that's not Dijon Lee. That's a great point. It's not rocket, in terms of, well, you got to get here and learn the system. That is true, and that's difficult for some kids more so than others. Alabama used to be on defense very complex under Nick Saban. That's not the case anymore. Heck, in the NFL, Those guys are professionals and they're used to playing in so many systems. But it kills me in the NFL where you have to have all these OTAs and then you have training camp. And then there's midseason trades where a player plays for one team on Sunday, then the next Sunday plays for another team. I'm like, how in the heck does he know the defense? How does he know what end is? You would think it would take those guys learn at least the basics of it in a week. But that's a great point by Luke about Caleb and London Simmons. Hey, they contributed right away and they weren't here till the summer. So I don't think it's that big a deal that they missed the spring. And again, offensive linemen more likely to redshirt. You're right. Javari Barnett, probably not a guy that you would expect to be an impactful freshman. Has also had an injury at one point in high school. He might be an ideal redshirt guy anyway. But again, we didn't redshirt London Simmons and Caleb Edwards. So there's no reason to go ahead and put it in ink that those guys would redshirt. Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. Well, look, we're going to talk about this basketball game last night because, Jimmy, that was something. We're on the precipice of being like a pretty badass program. I want to thank you everydayers for being here every day, by the way. I mean, you guys do help make the show a ton. Jimmy and I really do appreciate you guys a ton. Please do subscribe to the show. Please do sign up, all those things. It helps us and it helps Locked On. So that means a lot to us. But Jimmy, it was very nice of Illinois to get together the group that tried to take over the Nakatomi building in Christmas of about 1988. To put together a basketball team.
Their team is half of Eastern Europe plays for Illinois' team.
I didn't know that Hans Gruber had it in him to have a jumper, but he does. Last night was something. I mean, for a little, I'll tell you, when the two teams first got out there, I mean, I had it in my mind Alabama's losing this game. Not because I'm a pessimist, not because of anything, like funky like Alabama Auburn football stuff, but because when I looked out there and I said, man, they got all these Eastern Europeans. They're just going to end up doing us like Purdue did us. That's what I thought. Mm-hmm. What I'm so pleasantly surprised about is now, instead of looking at Purdue like, oh, my God, they're our boogaboo. We can't play teams that are bigger than us. I look at it like LeBaron had an off game. We didn't have Keiton Bristow. We didn't have some other dude. And if we have – there's no doubt in my mind if we have Keiton Bristow now, we win that Purdue game. LeBaron being off or not. That game was
about winning, but Bristow is a shot in the arm. I loved him. I love him as a player because the energy. I mean, he brings juice and energy and rebounding, and he's just all over the floor. He's all over the floor. I was shocked that Amari Allen won the hard hat, just in the sense that I'm like, Bristow was all over the place.
Sure and Allen was great. Allen was great.
He was absolutely.
Bristow. I mean. Coach Underwood for Illinois, like the first thing he said in his press conference was like, that Bristow kid, he's a dude.
Yeah, and Illinois is good. I get what you're saying about, I wouldn't have been surprised to lose last night at all. Look, I mean, this is what Nate Oats has done where we're not shocked to beat the number 8 team in the country in Chicago. I know it's not their gym, but still, we are the ones that had to travel to Chicago and play in that environment against the number 8 team, and you win, and we're not even surprised. It's just, well, that's Nate Oats. Nate Oats basketball program. It's somebody, I think John Rothstein, the famous college basketball journalist, wrote last night on Twitter, this is the golden age of Alabama basketball. This is it. This is as good as it's ever been for those too young to have been around during Wimps Anderson and C.M. Newton. This is it. This is as good as Alabama basketball has ever been. I don't want to say it's as good as it ever will be, but it's as good as it's ever been. And what last night showed me, Luke, is, if anyone was worried about this, you don't have to worry about it anymore. This team can go into March with optimism. You can not just making the tournament, but advancing far and playing on the second weekend or further. This team can do those sort of things. Now, will they? We'll have to find out. It's sports, anything can happen. But I'm thrilled that this team has already proven they can beat anybody.
A stat some people may not know, Amari Allen played the second most minutes last night behind Aiden Holloway. that tells you something about Amari Allen. And, they trusted Amari Allen. Now, he got the ball and he got fouled late and he missed the front end of his free throws. And he hit the second one and made it I think he made it a 3-point game again. But and then Illinois got fouled and of course they missed the front end of theirs. And then
the reason that I think he plays so many minutes, and this is why, because I try to pay attention to the lineups when they're on the floor. Amari plays the 2, the 3, and the 4. There are many, many, many times he's the second biggest guy on the floor and the guy that's guarding the other team's 4 and playing the 4. And there are times Amari Allen plays literally the 2, the shooting guard position, and that's probably where he would play in the NBA if he ever got that far. But he can play the 2, the 3, or the 4. That's why he plays so many minutes. Somebody like Aiden Holloway and Latrell Wrightsell, they can play the 2 or even the 3. They can be a third guard. Or they're primarily a 2, and Holloway even plays the 1, but they don't play inside. Amari Allen plays inside.
He literally play. I would say anything from the 2 to the 5 if he had to. Now, I mean, if he goes up against, that Clough guy from Purdue, he's going to get pushed around a little bit. But in a pinch, he can do just about anything. And I mean, he really bragged on him last night.
We can go small now. And play. We can go small and play with Bristow and Taylor Bowen as the big guys, and they're really perimeter dudes. Keiton Bristow and Taylor Bowen, but they can handle the 5 and the 4 unless you're playing monsters like Purdue has.
I look at this too, and Aiden Sherrill only got 9 minutes. I mean, he had 6 points in 9 minutes, and he also had a 3-pointer. But he needs to learn to stay out of foul trouble more. That was his biggest issue. And the thing about Latrell Wrightsell and Aiden Holloway, they just couldn't really get going. I thought Wrightsell was about to go off. There was a shot early in the game where he pulled up on the break and nailed it. And he had a 2 on the line, so it only counted for a 2. And I was like, okay, Wrightsell may be about to go on a roll. And they just couldn't get it going. Aiden Holloway took some deep threes that some people think were ill-advised. I think that's his game. I think that's his game. I know it's really difficult for people our age to understand, that's really not crazy to shoot that deep anymore. It's not. And
we have to get used to it. It's how Oats rolls.
But Bristow, for his first game, not being totally 100% yet, playing 19 minutes. Okay, all of a sudden, I was on my normal Montgomery radio station thing yesterday with Doug Amos, and I said, look, Alabama could very well come out of these next few games after 5 games be 2-3. Well, now, I mean, I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I mean, UNLV is not great, and they did beat up on Memphis, but they're still not great.
They're capable. UNLV is very capable of beating.
They're capable, and in Las Vegas too, by the way.
Yeah, they're capable. I'll call them.
Gonzaga's going to be tough. I mean,
Gonzaga's a tall hill here.
I bet you will be a 7-point dog. But I'll tell you something. Bring them on. I loved watching these guys play last night. And the one thing I kept thinking about was, man, I know we all know Philon's out of here after this year. He's out of here. Okay. And he should be.
Proved it again last night. He's an MVP.
Sure. But I really, really hope some of these young guys stick around. Like, I want Bristow to be back. I want Allen to be back. I want Holloway to be back. And I don't see why in the world he wouldn't. He ain't going pro. I don't mean that as a shot at him. He's just not going pro right now. I would love to get Mallet. I thought was fantastic last night.
Yeah,
I thought
he's out of eligibility, but
I know he's out of eligibility. I just saw his name and it made me think about it.
He was huge. And earlier this year, you're calling Jam Miller, the heart and soul of the football team, especially the offense. I get that. That's Houston Millett. He is this basketball team. I mean, he's the guy. And I don't care if he's missed 4 or 5 free throws in the game. When the game is on the line, that's the guy you want up there. I mean, he ice cold. He will do anything to win the game for his team. That's the kind of dude he is.
He was 5 of 5 from the stripe, by the way. And
he's a good free throw shooter. He's not going to miss a lot. I just mean that when he stepped up to the line at the end and made the biggest free throws in the game, I had 100% confidence those balls were going in. 100% confidence. And I don't know how I said that about any other player, although I think Wrightsell's a good free throw shooter. Boy, that announcer struggled with Latrell's name.
That's where I was going. How do you get Demeter Vrinjic, ham sandwich? And then they go, Latrell, right, Sale. And I was like, no, that's not. What? How? Why?
Yeah, that was like, I mean, I get, because we, especially when we're recruiting kids, me and you mispronounce names all the time because we don't know yet. And I guess this guy, Latrell's new to him, but still, it's like. And the basketball team, by the way, I've gone to their roster. The football team, we talked about pronunciations. If you go to the Alabama official football roster and click on a name, there's a pronunciation guide on the roster for every football player. If you're not sure how to say his name, basketball doesn't have that at Alabama. I don't know why. They need it. For this
reason. He could have used one, obviously. Anyway, I was like, how do you not? And the couple of times they were saying Philon, were they not?
I never heard that, but sometimes I'm so zoned in on the game. Sometimes I don't hear it all. But boy, LeBaron looked good. It struck me last night watching LeBaron play on that NBA court where the Chicago Bulls play. Yeah. How ready LeBaron Philon's going to be for the NBA after this year. He really smart to come back and improve. I mean, these kids need to understand that the draft only happens one time in their life. And the higher you go, the better off you are, because the higher you go, the bigger investment they make in you. You want them to make a big investment in you. That makes you harder to cut. It makes you harder. It makes them harder to hit the eject button and say, hey, this didn't work out. That's why it's so important when you go in the draft, go as high as possible, because it's not only more money in your pocket, it's the investment they're making in you. When you go to the draft and you're a second-round pick and you have a non-guaranteed contract, you are easy to cut. As a matter, there are no repercussions. They'll just go draft another one of you next year. They don't care. But if you're a first-round pick and you have guaranteed money, especially multiple millions, you will be given every opportunity. You can mess up. You can mess up off the court. You can have some big thing happen off the court, and they're like, well, we don't want to cut him. We lose a lot of money here. I mean, it just buys you investment. And that's what LeBaron Philon's done by coming back and improving his position in the draft. He's really set himself up now. And I wish, who he reminds me of, but he's even better to me, is J.D. Davidson. And I know JD's around him. I wonder if J.D. Davidson had played his 2 or 3 years at Alabama, how different his NBA career might look.
He really should have stuck around and improved. There's no doubt, but he is jacked right now. God knows, the latest pictures of him, he looks like so. And he's with Houston.
Yeah, he's with the Rockets. Although, is he on the NBA roster or is he back in the G League?
I saw him listed on the roster, but I hadn't paid attention to the NBA.
I'll have an answer for you tomorrow. As a matter of fact, when we end the show in seconds, I will look it up.
All right, speaking of that, that's going to do it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.